boss lady because I was her boss, and Professor Henrietta Bonsu,
who you will refer to,
who I refer to as boss because she was my lecturer, and she's a professor of law and the president of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. And so, Mami, back to you, sorry.
Right, I was just saying that even with the motorway, for example, if you think about it, if you've made a specific road and you say it's a highway, then people shouldn't be able to stop along the road to drop people off.
Yeah.
People shouldn't be able to cross recklessly. Even the mere fact that people are actually building or living along the road. So if you think about it, the laws are not working. When things don't work, people begin to it's human behavior that we are dealing with. So yes, alcohol could be involved, but it could be even the recklessness that is even involved in the way things are done. That people know that they can get away with anything. Yeah. The road signs.
When there's no sanctions.
No, and then the road signs. Imagine on the motorway there should be signs that no crossing. Absolutely nothing. Nobody there standing to even make sure people don't cross. And the police cars actually do come and pass by.
Josephine? You're in a good position to come in. National Commission for Civic Education.
I think there's a lot of it that has to do with attitudes, and of course it also has to do with the quality of the kind of vehicles that we find on our roads, the kind of tires we patronize these days. There's a lot of second-hand tires, and we need some policy decisions on that in terms of banning these things, because if you look at the rate of people losing their lives on the road, it is frightening. And for me, who is always on the highways of Ghana, you see it firsthand, the kind of recklessness associated with driving. And then, of course, at the weekends, a lot of people are going back to their villages for funerals and other engagements, and so some of them are in a hurry to get back, and you have drivers who think, I need to get them back to their destinations as quickly as I can so I can, go back and get another set of passengers and, make more money. So it's a multiplicity of all of these things. But like Mami said, I think we need to begin to enforce the laws, because you have people who should have been charged with negligence and manslaughter, but they're going scot-free, and this has contributed in no small way to the kind of slaughterhouse that my former lecturer is referring to.
We're losing a lot of manpower as well, and it's sad that we should wake up on a Monday morning to the news of at least 26 people dying in such a gory manner on our roads. Prof, do you think that it is an issue of needing new policies, or just enforcing what we have and finding a way to minimize the consumption of alcohol over the weekends?
Thank you, Charlotte. Let me start by saying good morning to your listeners, and also a shout out to my second daughter, Mami, whose birthday it is today.
Happy birthday.
She's 30-something. That's all I need to know. You asked an interesting question, and you have concluded that alcohol has a part to play in it. Yes, it may be true, but I think there are a number of factors. Certainly, there's a lot more movement at weekends for funerals and so on. People leave home very early, especially if they are doing day return.
Yeah.
They leave home very early. Sometimes they have not eaten, which means that their sugar level is low. They are making bad decisions on the road. And as a teacher, I've been taking interest in checking which of the drivers has a good sense of mathematics. Because sometimes in overtaking, you can tell it is poor calculation.
Yeah.
So we may not think of these things offhand, but in truth, some of the poor decisions are based on a poor sense of calculation as to whether I can overtake this vehicle and be safe.
Or whether I even need to overtake this vehicle.
Or whether indeed you need to overtake the vehicle at all. Sometimes I also find, because today is International Women's Day, it's a point I'll make. Have you ever noticed when you are driving that when you overtake a driver, particularly a taxi driver, whatever it takes,
he must
overtake the woman.
Yes.
Whatever it takes.
Just because you're a woman.
Yes. So there's something there. And then we also have people who ordinarily don't have much power, but when they sit behind powerful vehicles, feel powerful.
True.
Right.
And then they bully smaller vehicles on the road, and so on. I think it's a multiplicity of factors, and maybe we really should take time to study what is happening, because we can't keep losing 26,
and they're expecting a lot more, so they're not done.
And I'm told it was a kind of head-on.
Yes.
How can there be a head-on collision unless somebody is sleeping and so going out of their lane, or something that so distracted them that they were in the lane of the other person? It's really distressing.
So, what the Arrive Alive campaign? Are you just tracking the numbers, or you're doing some education alongside?
We're doing a lot of things. So we're doing a lot of education. We're actually on the road. We're working with the DVLA, the AMA, as many key players as possible to get the information out there. I mean, we've been to like the transport stations to check on how they're getting their, we call it MOTs, roadworthy, on how they're getting roadworthy. The
and licenses.
Yes, and we had the DVLA with us 2 weeks ago. The systems, whether it's working, whether people are using the kind of tires they're supposed to be using. For example, we noticed that a lot of the accidents that happen at burst tires, and it has to do on a certain level, with the influx of home use tires, or tires that are not going through the roadworthy process, and so then are not being checked properly. So it's really a very comprehensive campaign, but also putting awareness out there about the simple things that we take for granted. For example, you cannot be driving and texting and think that your attention is on the road. It's impossible. Your mind is off the road for the few minutes when you're texting, or the few minutes when you're looking at somebody's status, or the few minutes when you decide to
receiving a call,
or touching up on your lipstick.
Because sometimes, depending on what you hear on that call, it can also totally throw you off.
Completely, So a lot of different things, but.
Okay, I think now we have the reporter on the line. We would like to hear from him what's happening at the accident site. If he has any idea how this accident happened, how many people are injured, or the fatalities, and then whether we have the police or the fire service on the ground, and ambulances possibly.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Rafi, good morning. This is Charlotte. Can you tell us what's happening on the ground? Are you at the accident site?
Yes, please, I'm there.
Okay. What's it looking like?
Well, we got this information at dawn that two buses, one U-turn bus and one minibus, that is one of those 207 or Sprinter buses, had a head-on collision between the Techuman and Buffet stretch of the highway, specifically between Kawompe and Dawadawa in the Kitapo municipality of Gron East region. In fact, we got there, we are there at the scene, and it is very horrible. So far, I can see about 27 bodies being burned beyond recognition, and we told that only 6 survivors have been able to sent to the various hospitals that I cannot confirm which specific hospital, because from where we are to the nearby hospital will be at the Kintampo government.
Survivors, do you have any idea the state of how bad the injuries are?
No, so for now, those injuries, all what we told is that they've been transported to the various hospitals. But the specific hospitals, that's where I cannot confirm now, because the immediate hospital or the nearby hospital that they will send them will be Kintampo Hospital, and that one will depend on the gravity of the injury.
Do you have ambulances at the site?
Yes, the ambulance, they are here on standby, but for now, I can say that they have no work doing again, because all those that
they have been moved away.
Yes, they have been taken away. So now all those that we are waiting to see are those bodies that are bent beyond recognition, how they will also be transported. And still, the fear is that there may be others who are still trapped inside the car and might have also died. And so that is what the fire service is now trying to do, to see if they will be able to separate the two vehicles. Because until they do that, we will not be in a good position to even give a specific number of casualties.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll come back to you for another update later in the program. But thank you for giving us the report from the accident site. Thank you. So there we have it. Sad news. About 27 people dead this morning. May their souls rest in peace. About another 6 or 7 have been badly injured and have been taken by ambulance to the hospitals. And we have the police on the ground and we have the fire service. And there's a possibility that the body count would go up because there are more passengers that are trapped inside the vehicles. And this was a head-on collision between a Yutong bus and a minibus. So very sad news for this morning. I guess more than ever before, we need the Joy FM Arrive Alive campaign. Everybody's sad and quiet. And nobody.
Yeah, it's a really sad moment. Yeah. I'm thinking of what to say because I don't know what is appropriate for the moment. So yes, we're quiet because 3 weeks ago or so, or 4 weeks ago, on a Monday morning, just like this, we sat around this table and we had almost the same conversation about the other major accident that happened. Over 35, 40 people dead. Pretty much the same thing, collision, and you ask yourself that how many times are we going to get sad about this? How many times are we going to cry about this? How many times are we going to... What is there to say? Do you know what I mean? What is there to say? And of course the reports will come out, and we will talk about the fact that the streets don't have enough lights. We'll talk about rumble strips. We'll talk about this particular stretch of road and the number of accidents that have happened there. We'll talk about all these things. And God forbid, but possibly the next 2 Mondays or 3 Mondays or 4 Mondays, we'll gather around this table and we'll have this conversation again. So I think that the most that we can do, or the most that we can say, is that people just need to be responsible. I say this all the time when we talk about Arrive Alive, is you are not invincible. And we have a certain sense of invincibility when we're driving. It's as if, we hear that these things happen to other people, but we don't think they'll ever happen to us. But I think if you approach driving, if you approach having the responsibility of people in your car, and you realize that I am not invincible, I can't get into an accident. If I'm tired, I need to park. I shouldn't be on my phone. I shouldn't do all these things. Then perhaps we may save a little life. We may save some life whilst we wait for policy, for enforcement, for rumble strips.
How hard is it to enforce the laws that we have?
I think we should ask Prof. Prof maybe in a better position to.
I'm certain we could do better with enforcement, but sometimes if you are looking at the wrong course, then the effort you are putting into it may not yield
the results
you want. So I think we should do some comprehensive study of what is happening. Too often you hear supernatural causes, all those things that stop us from taking responsibility. Mm-hmm. And yet driving is one of individual responsibility, and also a recognition that there are other road users. So you may be feeling invincible and all of that, but does the other person feel invincible?
Or you may be a particularly good driver, but the other person is a bad driver.
Exactly. So I think we should keep up the conversation. There's also the aspect of the survivors. Sometimes my heart bleeds for them because you are suddenly thrust into a world of disability. Our support services for the disabled are very weak. Our therapy opportunities for recovery are also very weak. What are we doing about those? Sometimes you even envy the dead when you see the condition of the living, those who survived the accidents. So we need to do something comprehensive. Is there mandatory rest, for example, for people traveling between north and south? Who is enforcing it? Is there, because sometimes people are tired. Blood circulation is not going as it should because they've been sitting for a number of hours. Somebody must compel people to remember that they are human beings and they have human feelings. So you are compelled to rest at particular points, and somebody must enforce. We have a lot of police on the road now. I'm not sure I know exactly what they are checking, so I can't say much about that. but individual responsibility is also absolutely critical. Drivers who get involved in accident, whether it's their fault or not, required to do mandatory retraining. Perhaps if we did, we would save a lot more lives in the future. It's a really distressing situation.
Josephine, any further thoughts on this situation?
Well, we can all agree that it's a multiplicity of issues that cause these accidents, and DVLA is doing a lot. The National Road Safety Authority, I believe now, is also doing quite a bit on this, and so it's a matter of being more coordinated in our approach, talking to each other, and finding a sustained way of resolving the issues as they arise. But really, my heart goes out to the many people who have lost their lives, and of course to the families, people who have lost fathers, mothers, children, dependents, and all of that. It's really sad, and as you said, a lot of manpower going, and any life lost like this is unacceptable. So we must talk more about this, and well done to Joy FM for what they're doing now, and I think that everybody must be on board. And I also would like to stress the issue of the role of passengers in the vehicles. Sometimes passengers actually enjoy the fact that the drivers are going so fast because they can get to their destinations on time. Everybody's pressed for time, and so they overlook the things that can cause accidents because they may have traveled so many times, and a driver may have overtaken recklessly and gotten away with it. So they think, it's just one of those things and we're going to get away with it again. And it is that one time when you don't get away with it. So passengers ought to be more vigilant and understand that it's their lives at stake. So they must be outspoken, and they must speak with one voice. Because sometimes if you're not careful, then you have, all of this confusion on the vehicle as well. They turn on you. So we have to be careful. But when we begin to let Ghanaians understand that, listen, don't think that you need to get there on time always, but it's about arriving alive.
Funny thing is, we are rarely on time anyway.
But when it comes to these things,
so at least arrive alive.
Yes. So we need to be talking about these things, and I think there still persists that problem where drivers think that they must take a little something before they drive because it enables them to drive better. So a lot of work has to be done with the GPRTU and organizations, so that they have this constant training, retraining, awareness raising with these commercial drivers to understand. And I want to reiterate the issue of policy. I mean, if you do a random survey, you find out that a lot of the time tires are getting burst, and so we need to take a firm decision on that, where we determine as a people that if this is one of the causes, then we ought to cut
We still have a big issue to discuss today, so let's take Mami's last comments on the Arrive Alive and the road accidents issue, and then we go into a big agenda for today.
Can I make this point?
Of course,
saw something
Prof.
yesterday that upset me. A stop sign, and somebody had stuck a poster on it. Now that we are getting into the season of posters, would people kindly respect road signs and no posters?
Maybe we find anybody who puts a poster that may help.
Absolutely no posters on road signs.
Right.
Mami?
Yes, and I just wanted to say that, sometimes with our society, or when it comes to the developed world, we're always looking at how to solve instead of prevent. So we need to think of prevention. So when you have a child, you don't wait till the child gets sick to buy medicine. If we are a society that prioritizes people before anything else, what is fundamental? You thought about the little boys who got lost in the cave or something. You saw the whole community come together. Those are societies where human beings matter. As Ghanaians, we should know that our people matter. So when we are thinking of building our economies, we are thinking of solutions that are preventive and sustainable. And I would say that, because of time, two things. Number one, I know somebody, for example, who builds GPS systems, and he does it at a very cheap price. It's a young guy. They are young people with skills who can come up with a solution, even put cameras. The developed world, you cannot control if I'm going to text. I can't control if you're going to drink, because at the end of the day, you're not superhuman. But as a society, you can come up with solutions that help to address this. That is why in the developed world, they put cameras everywhere. And you know the road ticket, the speed tickets are so expensive. People are literally shaking to go against the speed limit. Secondly, I'll say this: to raise money, you say that you cannot do certain things on the road to make it better. Well, guess what? If you have the speed, you cross the speed limit, and then you are charged, the money is going to a safe place. That money can actually now be put back into making our roads better.
Mommy, the money that we collect for street lights,
right,
which is on our electricity bill and all of that,
right,
the street lights in Temamoto Way are still not working.
Anyway,
so collecting more money to do things that we say that we don't have money for,
right,
and finding this safe place.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, when people break the law, it's a form of enforcement. So people pay for speed tickets. So if you're not spending on anything, you just have to go scot-free. Then why would you obey the rules?
No, definitely pay for them. But when people use the money for what,
then we have to hold government accountable for that.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Sure.
Well, very insightful conversation, and it's a sad morning. May the souls of the departed rest in peace. And we hope that as the Arrive Alive campaign continues, we're all going to get engaged on this topic and see how we can all work, not just leave it to government, towards ending the spate of road accidents and making our roads safer. We really cannot go on like this. We can't. Something has to change. So we'll keep talking and we'll keep thinking, and hopefully we'll come up with some solutions quickly enough to save some lives. So are we taking a commercial break before we go into our big topic, or we're going into the big topic? We can just go on. Well, it's our day, so hey, we decide we're going into the big topic. So, International Women's Day. My name is Charlotte Osei. I'm hosting the Super Morning Show on Joy FM, and we're celebrating 25 years of joy and 25 years of media excellence. But we're also celebrating women, because today is the 9th of March, 2020, and yesterday was International Women's Day. And it's my real privilege to have Professor Henrietta Bonsu. This is a true legal luminary, true icon. Lectured me, and I'm sure she lectured Josephine too. Yes, she did. Years and years ago. And seeing that I'm only 35, if I say how long ago she lectured me, I'm going to have a problem. And we have Miss Josephine Krumah, chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education. We have Mami Awinado, and who is director of operations for Sakam Savannah. And then we have our own in-house hostess, Enimwa. So today we want to talk about women in Ghana. It's been what?
25 years
since the Beijing Declaration, and we've been talking women. I recall I was on the Super Morning Show 3 years ago to talk about women on International Women's Day. I was here 2 years ago. I hosted, and we talked about women. I've come back 2020. Affirmative action law still does not exist. Articles in the Constitution that provide for equitable distribution of marital property, since the Constitution came into force in 1992, we still have not passed those provisions. We still have witches' scams. We still have high mortality rates. We still have young girls being forced into marriages when they should be in school. Are we in a good place? Can we do better? Do we need a female president before the witches' camp would be abolished? Prof, let's start with you.
I think that we are doing better. We could do better. But on the whole, there's a lot more awareness of female capabilities and the female capacities. And I am convinced that with persistence and with time, we will have the parity that we are talking about. We suffer a lot of historical disadvantages, and it takes time to overcome historical advantages. You don't just sit, you work at it. So, and we begin with education. because without education, even if you can play a role, you cannot play it in the formal sector, where there are requirements of certificates and so on. Look at our churches. It's women who are keeping them going. They are doing all kinds of fantastic things running the churches, and yet they are absent on the formal plane, and it's largely due to an absence of certificates and so on. So I think that we are doing okay. We could do better. As for female president, yes, it would be nice. I don't think Ghana is ready. Whatever people say, secretly they are not.
Yep, I was just going to say that.
And as for the witches camps, I've heard a lot of talk about it. In fact, one has closed already.
One was closed in 2015 or so.
That's progress. When you are doing social change, it takes time. And by a process of evolution rather than revolution.
Yeah.
So I know that if one has closed, what would stop the others from closing? But we do need to study the systems and then prefer responsible answers to the issues that we find. Because these are people who are rejected by their communities. And the last thing you want is to remove even the semblance of community by closing the camp and then sending them where? So we need to make sure that we sensitize the communities as well, so that they don't reject their aged women. You know, because I haven't seen any rich person called a witch.
No.
So obviously
those are just widows.
Yes. So it obviously has something to do with
economics,
lack of education.
Economics,
yeah.
And people feel good that they can send their own mothers away as witches, because then they don't have to keep them in any state at all. In fact, they can reject them and be supported by the community. We need to do better.
Yeah.
We are trying to get into the scientific age, and we need to show that these things have a relationship with poverty rather than all this spiritual mumbo jumbo.
Yeah. So Prof says it is a matter of persistence and time, and that we should be working towards evolution and not revolution, because you can't just append all these cultural systems that have existed for so long. Now, the World Economic Forum, and in a study they released, says that the current pace at which the world is going, gender parity is only going to happen in 2168 or something like that. Yes. It's like 130-something years ahead. What do you think we can be doing differently? I remember when I was at the NCC, I think it must have been 2013 or 2014. We did a study on child early and forced marriages, and Ghana had astronomically high rates of child marriages. Has anything changed?
It's pretty much the same, and if there's been any change, it's been very little change. And it goes to show that the issue of gender equality or inequality in Ghana and in most patriarchal societies that most women find themselves in has to do with attitudes, upbringing that have been crystallized over many years. So of course it should be more evolution than revolution, but we need to accelerate that evolution. And I think one of the things that we do well as women is to talk to each other about it. Try and, you see all of the talk about supporting each other, helping women rise up. We need to have more engagement with the men, because at the end of the day, who is on the other end of the stick?
Is it the sense that men feel that the more empowered women become, is the more disempowered men become?
You see, I think men come from a position of privilege, and unless the privilege is taken from you, you don't understand what it's like to be underprivileged. And so for like any other thing in this world, when you have it, you take it for granted until it's taken away from you. So when men begin to understand and we strip them of those privileges, I don't mean, but what I want is get them to begin to think, what would it be like if I wasn't a man? If I had to go through these things? Then they would begin to better appreciate the role they have to play if we will arrive at some gender parity. So a lot of it has to do with men, and I believe very strongly that engagement with men is key. At the end of the day, most of the systems are run by men, and so they are the ones we should be speaking to. We should be holding each other up as women, but I think that we need to kind of
so we need to bring men in as allies.
We need to bring the men in as allies and let them understand. There's a lot of studies that show that when you have gender equality, for instance, in the workplace, there is less staff attrition, there's more productivity, and all of that. So it goes to show that when we have gender equality, it's going to be a win-win for all of us.
I think that's the key issue. I was going to bring in Mami in with that. There's a lot of research that shows that countries do better when there's more gender balance in leadership at all levels.
True.
Companies do better financially when they have women on boards and when they have women in decision-making positions. Shouldn't our strategy be to show society, including men, what they stand to gain by empowering women? Because I still think that that sense is still there that, if we make women strong, we're making men weak. You understand?
Right.
And they are not saying that it's actually going to be making everybody stronger.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, just to reinforce what you said, for example, they look at the 29 countries that have been doing well in the whole equality journey, and in the top 10 were the Nordic countries. And Finland is doing so well of late, even with the educational system and everything. And Iceland is number 1 actually in the world, and they are doing well economically. The thing is this: I was saying this yesterday. I said that when you look at when you're discussing this, you need to look at things like culture. You look at religion, and what are people's beliefs of what is strength. So then a man thinks that because of what we've defined as masculinity or being strong, people are afraid that if you allow the woman to also have strength, that means that you're going to have two. It makes you less than. But strength really represents service. Leading really represents having to serve others and taking more of a responsibility. So I think that a lot of men struggle with that because, and I said it yesterday, 70% of Ghanaians are Christian. When you go to church, they tell you the man is the head of the house. So now when you are the woman, you submit, right? So now the idea of the head of the house is that this boss and then the followers. But headship really means service. When that is translated well, even you see it in your government. Because if you pay attention to even how we lead our people, when you become a big man, honorable, you're in a big car, everybody becomes smaller than you.
Yes.
And it starts from the home. And so what happens to reinforce what's in the home is culture and religion and church. So then we begin to teach people that strength is not necessarily having to rule over people, but it really takes its service. Then what happens is that then men can understand that when a woman has power, it's not a negative thing. I don't know if it really makes sense. And you're even talking about privilege at a point in time. I was saying this yesterday, that when you're at a place of privilege, you don't really see things clearly. You don't see what the other person is going through.
I think I get that, but let's move away from the men and even focus on the women.
Right.
Do we get it?
Right.
Let me bring Inimwa in. There's an African proverb that never marry a woman with big feet.
Oh, I have big feet.
There you go. Because the assumption, the belief is that a woman with big feet is ambitious. She's going to be standing toe-to-toe with the husband. And it comes back to the submission thing. But, that Bible verse is one of my favorite Bible verses, because they always talk about wives submit, and it is to your own husband.
Right.
I don't know when we got to interpret it as every woman submitting to every society. It is wives submit to your own husband.
Right.
And husband
love. That is my favorite part, because truly, when he loves you as Christ loved the church, meaning basically is willing to give his life for you, he won't have a problem with you submitting. But do we women get it?
Right,
Yes. Do we women get it? Have we? Because if you live in a society where they say never marry a woman with big feet, you also are brought up with that belief. And you'll even find in some societies, women's feet are bound and tied up so that it doesn't grow beyond a certain size.
Wow.
Your ambitions have to be limited. Do we get it as women?
You know, I feel a lot of despair sometimes when we talk about what women think of themselves and how a lot of Ghanaian women have been raised. And maybe we, in terms of privilege, are privileged because our eyes have been opened. You know, we've gone to the best schools and all of that. But when you look at the average Ghanaian woman or even the rural woman, and you hear the things that they have been made to believe about themselves, then you realize that this fight is actually a really massive fight. Because if a woman's self-worth defines her self-worth in terms of, oh, I can make the fufu very well, you know, I can clean the house very well, or I'm raising children, the girls, you know, I'm raising my daughters to keep the house and my sons are going to school, and there's pride in that. How do you fix that? Because this is what we actually, you know, believe. But And you see, there's always a contradiction for me, because I've been a wife and a mother and then a career person now, and I understand the joy that I have in raising my children. I understand the joy that I have in doing things for the man that I love, but I also understand the joy that I have in finding fulfillment. So balance for better, because the truth is, biologically, there are some things that we were created to do, which only we can do. You know, but is that a weakness?
Like Mommy for more than 6 minutes.
Yeah, we can listen from. Is that a weakness, like Mommy said, you know, or is it a strength? And then I want to talk about this really briefly. How are we raising our sons? Yeah. I have given up. Our daughters. I've given up. Honestly, me. I have given up on those who have gone on the old. I've given up. I'm looking at us. How are we raising our sons and our daughters? The simplest things. Girl, daughter, Mommy's cooking, come and help me. You go and play football. Immediately the child is thinking, okay, the girls are in the kitchen, we are playing football. My strength is in my football, my ability to be out there. Her strength is in her ability to be inside there. How are we raising our daughters? Daughters are beating our sons, and it's okay because we think it shows strength, and then we say to the boys, don't beat your sister, don't beat your sister. Men don't hit women. Yeah, but women don't also hit men. So it goes both ways. Right. Do you see what I mean? And so there's so much that has gone on before us, but there's so much responsibility that we have in the way that we're raising our children, with the values that we are giving them, so that we are actually creating a society where strength is strength, where we respect the differences, because we are different. We respect the differences between us, but we also have some sort of equity. And I'm looking at the Beijing Declaration. It's in front of me right now, and it's such a beautiful document, isn't it? It's almost as beautiful as the affirmative action bill, which hasn't gone to cabinet. Almost as beautiful. And I mean, we love our president at the moment, because we've seen that he's a man who, when he's determined to do something, he does it. I mean, he cancels referendums and stuff, you know. So hey, you know, good morning, President Akufo-Addo. But the affirmative action bill still has not been passed.
Okay, in the interest of my president, I would advise that we take a quick break and we take the Joy Business Minute, and we come back to this discussion. So welcome back, listeners, to the International Women's Day edition of the Super Morning Show. My name is Charlotte Osei, and it's my privilege to have in my studio this morning, as host of the Super Morning Show, Professor Henrietta Bonsu, Miss Josephine Krumah, Maami Awinado, and our own Enimwa. And we're talking about women in Ghana. And that's a big agenda for today. And today's agenda is brought to you by Societe Generale, SG Ghana, The Future Is You, and also brought to you by Malcolm. You guessed right. Malcolm is happy to introduce his 44th store located at Frafraha, Foster Home Junction. It's a fully air-conditioned store, and it's open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. from Monday to Saturday. And on Sundays, it's open from noon to 8 p.m. The Malcolm store has over 25,000 products ranging from supermarkets, fresh food, homeware, electrical items, furniture, home decor, garments, sports and fitness items, home and kitchenware, and hardware. So visit the new Malcolm branch today and enjoy an amazing shopping experience. Terms and conditions apply. And remember, Melcom is where Ghana shops.
And nothing beats the convenience of sorting out life's little tasks with just a click from anywhere in the world, so you can spend your time doing things you love. That's why with Vodafone, you can now pay your bills instantly right from your mobile device or computer. So whether you're away on business, vacationing, or being driven home from work, you can access and pay your bills through Visa, MasterCard, Vodafone Cash, or other mobile money payment options. Visit myvodafone.vodafone.com.gh to create a unique username and password, or to view and pay your Vodafone business bill online with your Vodafone account number. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Are you ready? And it's daybreak. A hawker sells eye strings to thirsty passengers. A young boxer in Bukom trains to become a champion. An aspiring young executive prepares for her first job. Where does this drive towards success come from? Ghana, at APSA, it's Africanacity. It's inspiration behind who we are and what we do. It's our commitment to helping people find a way to get things done. We love Africanacity. To find out more, visit apsa.com.gh.
So, back to the issue, the big issue for today, women in Ghana. So many years after the Beijing Declaration, a lot of work has gone in, a lot of research has been done. We've talked about the fact that we still have witches' camps in Ghana, high rates of child and forced marriages, female genital mutilation is still going on. And Professor Henrietta Bonsu said earlier that it's a matter of persistence and time. Now, my concern is I think we're actually losing the persistence factor. Have we reached a point where we think that we have arrived because we have all this first, and we think we don't need to do more work?
I think we're tired. I don't think it's because we've arrived. The battle seems unending. Just when you think you've overcome one thing, then another thing comes up, and then you look at it, and sometimes you're like, what's that expression? Onipa beye but one It's like, okay, you know, like, is this ever going to end? Is the ingrained patriarchal thing that we have going, is it ever going to go away? Do you know how shocking it is? There are times when we're doing this show and we're talking about some issue, and some men may start to call in or text in, and you hear the passionate views that they have about the fact that women are second-rate human beings. It's so
in 2020?
Yes, it's so deeply ingrained, you know, and there are some conversations that bring these things out. So if you're talking about religion, for example, if you're talking about something to do with church, you're talking about something to do with a woman doing something better than a man, you know, then it really comes out and you are bashed, you know. You are the kind of women who are taking the girls, you know, in the wrong direction. You are the kind of women who are teaching wives not to submit and not to do this and not to do this and you are like, wow.
Okay, calm down. Prof, are we failing your generation in all the fights, in all the work they did? And big question, are the churches a part of the problem or the solution?
I think that each age has to fight its own battle. Somebody may begin because of their position. Somebody must take off from there. Now with a lot of social, you know, access to social media and so on, what are the women focusing attention on? That may make a difference. In the home, what are parents focusing on? I will always praise the blessing of a strong male figure in my life. Strong, loving fathers make a lot of difference in shoring up your confidence before you go out into the world and meet the aggressive people who want to put you down because it makes them feel better. Perhaps we need to address the matter less like competition and more as collaboration.
Exactly.
Right.
Because if we can collaborate and work together, we'll be better off than if we are fighting each other and trying to look better or get better than the other. Males also need a lot of sensitization. I quite agree with you about understanding what power means. Because if you socialize a male to see that he's powerful only because he can push some woman into the ground. That's what he'll do.
Right.
Yes.
I already talked about the fact that I've noticed this trend. When you pass a taxi driver on the road, whatever it takes, he will pass you. Because then he feels beaten.
Right.
And he must assert his maleness. What if maleness wasn't about that?
Maybe the solution is more female taxi drivers.
Well, that could help, but they would make life miserable for them, so they wouldn't survive.
Probably they make life miserable for us everywhere.
but educating people so that their values change.
Yeah.
True.
But isn't that where the church is coming? The churches,
you see,
the religions, because they are a big part of this issue.
Right.
I mean, the churches have the power to influence.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, how many of these churches are actually influencing positively? I had to take my children out of a school because the influence of the church there was that it was only a boy who could stand for head prefect, and then he would pick a so-called first lady. And immediately I realized that it had been boys who had been head prefects, and then I heard the term first. So I went to the headmaster and I tried to find out what is this. Oh yes, it was the boys stand, and then they get to pick it
in school.
Yeah, I mean, so I said no, I'm not accepting this. I won't try and bring my daughter up to think that she can do anything that she wants to do, be anything or anybody she wants to be, and she comes into school and there's this subtle way of, reorienting.
This school was owned by a church.
It wasn't owned by a church, but the owner of the school, I think, was heavily influenced by his church's principles. So I said,
yeah, but you can get it because in the church you have the founder of the church, and he has a first lady.
Let me tell you. So then I said, you either change this, or at a PTA, I'm going to raise the issue. And of course, I raised the issue at a PTA, and they had to reverse that policy, and immediately for about 3-4 years consistently girls were head prefects. I'm saying this to show that if you look at the trend today, even in schools, I've been to quite a number of graduation ceremonies, and you see how the girls are picking up awards and the boys are not doing half as well as the girls, and that is another worrying trend, and it has to do with perhaps...
No, but isn't that really the key issue, that we are creating this situation where when the girls start to do well, then the boys are not doing so well, which translates into society thinking that stronger women or more empowered women or more enabled women means weaker men, and that's really not what it should be. It should be that all 4 tires in the vehicle are working properly, not that 2 tires are good and 2 tires are bad.
Exactly what I'm saying is to mean that, so you find this happening, and there's a lot of focus at some social level where everybody's pushing hard for the girl to do so well, and so then it
strengthen the boys too.
It creates that imbalance. And I was talking to a couple of parents who were, I've got daughters. I said, don't forget, your daughters are going to be marrying those boys, so you have an interest in seeing to it that these boys are at par, because with the kind of socialization, you would then find a man who feels I forget the word, but a man who feels threatened by the strength and power of a woman, and men who feel threatened by the strength and power of women must usually use physical strength.
I think we'll save that discussion for International Men's Day. It's a very deep one.
Yes, and then it leads to, so he finds himself in a certain position, and he must do everything he can
to suppress and destroy. Yeah. Anymore. What do you think the churches can be doing better?
Oh, God. Oh, mommy or me?
Sorry, mommy.
Okay.
Not you. I won't give you that topic.
Why?
Wow. The interesting thing that the church could do, honestly, is to really teach the Bible for what it really is. Because if you think about it, if you pay attention to even, because if you look at, so just not to exclude other religions, but just because we're looking at the church, for example, if you look at Jesus' lifestyle, right, or how he walked, even his teachings focus more on values. You see, when you uphold values, you see the concept of what it means to be masculine or feminine. These are personality things. So you say I'm masculine. Just being masculine is how you're going to translate your character to somebody else, right? And feminine, how you're going to exhibit your character to somebody else. If character is values, if we uphold values like compassion, integrity, honesty, truth, what it means to serve. You know, service is so hard. Every day you wake up, when you hear service, it's very hard because people think that when you are in leadership, it just means that that's when you can finally send people, command people. When you are a mother or a father, that means you can never make mistakes. You're always right and you can always send. But service, leadership is now the huge responsibility of understanding that the person who is you think is nothing now, or the weaker person now becomes the person that you have to show more love, compassion, or even honor to, right? And so I'm learning that if the church will uphold these values, you spoke about the verse about submit. Whenever you go to church, you hear more, hey, you can't cook jollof, and you want to have
in church.
Oh, that one I've heard it before. Yes, and so the thing is that there's never the emphasis, even the concept of submission you were talking about. Think about it, and not to even become a pastor here, but you see, God never says submit to me. He exhibited love first.
And then made it easy.
And then for the church, you come and submit. So what happens is that the whole idea of, if we really teach the Bible, that it's such a universal book.
But hold up, are the churches, we're going to deviate if we go into what the church is actually
But it affects so much of the way that people think.
But even forget even the teaching, that's a deeper level. On the very obvious level.
Right.
What kind of leadership do we see in churches? Do we see balance? If women are only reduced to the roles of first ladies and presidents of the
Women's Fellowship
and Christ's Little Band, what message is the church really sending out?
Right. And even beyond that, even it's true that you can even and ask yourself this other question: when a woman becomes a leader, is she really allowed to really be herself, or she now has to begin to exhibit certain traits of what it means to be a leader, being able to command people and stuff? So when you're a woman and you're in leadership and you're a little like nicer, because the idea of when you're a leader is like you're cutthroat. You're supposed to be
actually, when you're a female leader in Ghana, if you're nice, trouble.
That's what
if you're not nice, trouble. So let's even leave that.
So let's leave that, exactly.
That you can't win.
Right. So I was going to so can I just say, even for me, the church, one thing I think for me that is so big to me is really to encourage young women to aspire. And for the women, I'm sitting here with all of you. I never thought we'd be in a room like this today. But even someone asked me, who's your female mentor? I was like, I don't have one. And you see, there's so many women who've gone ahead and have done things. And the question, are you pulling other young women with you? When you meet another young woman to say, hey, listen, pursue your goals, pursue your dreams. You can be more than you think. We don't have that.
You don't have to be a slave queen.
Yes.
You don't have
we don't have that. And so I think that if we had more of that.
You've read the wrong kind.
Okay,
But when I was in Kabul, Afghanistan, I had they used to call them my school. I had 4 or 5 young ladies working at the commission, and every day after lunch they would gather in my office waiting for me, and they would just bombard me with questions. How is life in Ghana? And it was so different from their lives. And the one thing I realized was, 2 things. One, that yes, we've made progress, we are not where they are, and there's a lot that we take for granted. So for instance, if you're an typical Afghan woman living in Afghanistan, you cannot just go out with your friends to watch a movie. You can't go. Even when you're married, unless your husband takes you, which is very rare. It's like totally secluded life. There's so much you can't do. You can't go to a stadium to watch a match. So when you talk to them about those things, you kind of realize, we do have some things good. But I also used to wonder, so when they talk to me about Ghana and I tell them, you can pick the person you want to marry, and they're like, I'm like, it's not such a fantastic thing, don't worry. But they get really gaga over all that, and so you can go out when you want to go out, you can drive and all that. But then I think, and I'm like, the Ghana I'm describing is my reality of Ghana. That's also not the reality for a lot of other Ghanaian women. We still have very high school dropouts, Josie was saying during the break. A 56% dropout girl by secondary school. That is abysmal. We have challenges. Women with disabilities face very peculiar challenges. We even have, I remember when I was at the Electoral Commission and the Federation of Ghana Disabilities came to see me. If you speak to the women with albinism, very peculiar challenges. And I'm just wondering, we are not even addressing the challenge of the everyday. We are talking urban one who are privileged, and so our debate is whether you want to be aspirational, mentor other women, or you just want to be a slave queen. Thanks to coronavirus, very soon there will be no hair coming in, so maybe that would take care of that. But the thing is, what are we doing with the privilege? Or what should we be doing for the other women in this same country who do not have it that good? So what's duty? Anyway, you come in here. How can we keep our young girls in school? How can we stop high dropout rate because of things like monthly periods? Or because you've lost a parent and you cannot, there's no one supporting you to stay in school.
Child marriage.
How can we stop accepting Kayaye as normal? Because it should not be normal that we're using women as porters. What can we do differently?
I just such a massive question. I don't think I can answer it all by myself. But I mean, our social welfare system is a big thing.
No, forget social. We, as the privileged women, what can we do?
I guess band together. Really band together. I know some groups of people who have these programs for the Kayaye. They're trying to get them into school. You know, they're trying to support do the whole child care thing so that, you know, they can go to school, try and build, you know, a sort of career for themselves. I think we need to speak up. You know, there's something about Ghana that I really don't get, is we glamorize foolishness and stupidity. We celebrate sometimes the women. Yeah, I said it for you. Sometimes we celebrate the women who are doing things that don't make sense more than we celebrate the women who are, who have substance. And that has to change. We have to be able to look at women who are achieving, women who are selling sobolo, women who are in the market and selling.
Shout out to Auntie Salma of Salma Garment and I think Dignity. She is turning 70 this month, and she's been a phenomenal woman. She's employed, I think at this point we've probably reached thousands of women, giving them skills. She gathers the Kayaye, trains them on how to sew, employs them in her factory. So talking about women who are actually doing substance over form, I think that's what we're talking about.
So celebrating the market women. I have more respect for a woman who is by the roadside and selling wache and shito to take care. There's a woman who comes to Joy FM every morning with wache and she's carrying her little child at her back. I have more respect for her than for a woman who is driving a top of the range car and cannot actually explain to you the job that she does. Or like, what exactly is it in your life that you are doing that is facilitating the lifestyle you are living? And then on top of that, we glamorize it and we are looking up to her. But so let's ask the questions. The people who are social media. Well, yes, then there's the role of social media.
I need some sanity. I need to bring Prof in. I need Prof some words of wisdom.
All that all that you are saying is true. With access to social media, we need to define our values. Anymore is right. If you glamorize a certain lifestyle, you make new recruits. Are we empowering women? Or because of the anonymity that social media gives, that is where we are at our most atavistic. We need to look at all of these things. The girls in high school, we can reach them. I've been saying for the last year, we now have free SHS. Which means we are going to have a big population of educated females. Who is preparing the world for them?
Preparing them for the world? Or
preparing the world for them.
Okay.
Because, you see, sometimes you fight for change, but you are not ready for the change when it occurs. Because they are going to be we are going to become a very literate community when we have virtually every girl who enters secondary school being educated?
Right.
Is our society ready? Or we are spending money to educate them so that they go into churches headed by illiterate people who teach all kinds of yabas.
Right.
All kinds of yabas. Wait for the day. Yabas.
I got a new one.
So we really do need to work on the psyche.
Right.
There are many fathers who promote mediocrity in their daughters because one day she'll get married, so she doesn't need to work hard.
If she's excellent, she won't get a good husband.
Excuse me, is every woman who's married?
Yeah.
What if every man who must be married?
What if the man dies? So the widow who was featured as the highlight of the story of Jesus and the widow's mite continues to be the face of poverty. And we have also now the phenomenon of from dadaba to hustler. How do we have from dadaba to hustler if the mother is also doing something to support the family? So when the father passes on, the children's lives don't change so suddenly and so drastically that they end up in as social misfits. Go to the senior correctional home and you will find that yes, many of the children there are from broken homes, but check, they are not broken from divorce, broken by death. So we are not doing enough to help the women remain the pillar of the community by letting them lean on the men, and you can't guarantee any man's lifestyle. So length of life,
and that's true.
And so the face of poverty continues to be a woman's face.
But I think your point comes back to the point that was being made earlier, that we are not, as a society, showing that there is value to the entire society in strengthening women.
Absolutely not.
So if a man recognizes that I need to strengthen and empower my wife. Sorry, I think my mic was off. So my point is, we are not as a society showing that there is value to the entire society by strengthening and empowering women. So if every man appreciated that, if I strengthened, empowered, enabled my wife or my sister, it brings value to the entire family, because like you were saying, you cannot guarantee how long you're going to be here or what you can do. And anything can happen to you. It may not be death, it may be incapacity.
Right.
And then the other one can stand and support the family when you are not able to or when you are not available. So because we are not having a discussion around this, society keeps thinking that they should keep women down there because it makes them, everybody else, look bigger and better.
Right.
And that's not really working. We're failing ourselves, basically. And we're all bearing the consequences for that. And which also brings us to the issue of women in politics. Josephine, I'm going to bring you in here. Our numbers our numbers are not getting any better. From district level
to unit committee. So I have some of the figures here.
Okay.
So 275 parliamentary seats. We know that only 38 are women. At the district level, there's 5,681 men as opposed to 413 women. Unit committee level, 5,034 men as opposed to 344 women. So we're not even achieving the 30%.
We're not even hitting 10%.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I think politics.
No, we'll just do some make some money very quickly, and then we would really come and look at this. And also we'll talk about, is there any value to our society if we have more women in this in political leadership? What value does that bring to us as a society? Are we seeing that? Let me do graphic first, and then it's your birthday.
Sure, go ahead.
So today is the 70th anniversary of the Daily Graphic. And we're asking, what does 70 years mean to you? Does it mean that you're old and past your prime? For us at Graphic, it's a celebration of 7 decades of excellence, rich experiences with great achievements, and we have done it all together with our readers, advertisers, clients, agencies, partners, regulators, supplier, and the entire nation. Graphic Communications Group Limited is 70 years, and we're thankful to God and to you. Come celebrate with us, truth and accuracy every day. So now they need to tell us where the celebration is happening.
So that we can get our party hats on.
And then on Saturday, the 14th of March, the Accra Polo Club gets a major litness.
Yep.
It's the 3 Music Awards 2020 Fan Festival, powered by Joy FM, E&E Ghana, Fantasy Entertainment, Joy Prime TV, and Hits FM, with massive performances from 3 Music Awards 2020 nominees, top stars, and DJs. Come slay in all your cool summer wear. It's summer. For a day of glitz, glam, games, and food from some of Accra's top vendors, and massive music fun from the open house party stage. 3 Music Awards Fan Festival is brought to you by 3 media networks: Joy FM, Joy Prime TV, Hits FM, E&E Ghana, and Fantasy Entertainment, and it's supported by Guinness Ghana, NASCO Electronics, the Eswavo Security, and Twitch House Marketing. Let's turn it up at the Fan Festival on Saturday, 14th March at the Accra Polo Club. And if you want more information, especially for vendors, you can call 024-477-8348.
Okay, well, Vida, who is from the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, says, I have followed the discussion since yesterday, but the reality is that we don't believe in ourselves as women, and because of that, we're failing to build a formidable group. Now, she got through on our text lines, which are open 0244-340437, and our text messages on SMS are brought to you by Glyco Travel Insurance Policy. Glyco, we cushion you for life. Afrodan, your back must last you a lifetime. And this year, 2020, turns to Glyco Life, which has 34 years proven track record of paying claims. Glyco Life cares for you, which is, and we hope that you'll have an enhanced personal service that you can have access to if you come to Glyco. So there's a Glyco Enhanced Life Savings Plan, the Glyco Premium and Ideal Funeral Plan, the Glyco Critical Illness Plan, and the Glyco Enhanced Educational Endowment Fund. Call Glyco Life today on 45426 or 020-222-113. That's 020-222-113, and they will assist cushion you for life.
You know, because the issue of women in politics is such a huge one, we think we need some music to get ourselves into the mood. And because men are always asking, what cry do women want? We're going to tell them. We're playing a little Ray Parker. A woman needs love, just like you do. And women in political leadership. The numbers are not improving in Ghana. We have research that shows that countries that have gender parity, or at least better numbers, tend to do better. What can we do, and do we really think this would work in Ghana? So I'm going to have my guests speak about that, but in the meantime I want to open the lines to those of you who are listening to us. And the question we want the callers to bring in to answer is, what role can we all, as citizens of Ghana, what role can we all play in ensuring a gender equal Ghana and a gender equal world? And our studio lines are 0302-216-541, 0244-340-437, and that number is also on WhatsApp and on Telegram. So we want to hear from you. What can you do to ensure a gender equal Ghana? Don't come and tell us what you think the women should be doing. Tell us what you as a person, male or female, can do.
Okay. Well, there have been some text messages, and thank you for that. Before I get to that, though, everything is better on a brand new smartphone. Pictures look better, battery lasts longer, and your swag just stays so. Tressa Uberezi will level Ankasa. So how about getting a new one from MTN? It's a new decade, so get on with the times. And it's so simple. All you have to do is do more on your MTN phone and win a sleek iPro 5S. This year, raise your level, Kakra. Just dial *120 *1# to register today. We're good together. That's why we did for you everywhere you go. Now, McCosby says, honestly, I do not think women are better managers than men. Neither do I consider men better managers than women. I think management is a skill that one better learns by improving. Yes, certain biological factors inhibit a woman from doing her best as a leadership position and some artificial hindrances. For example, the men opinion factor. Really? Who was the first to fly around the world? It was a woman after the man builds the aeroplane. Really? We work hand in hand better when we push each other forward than pushing each other down. Good morning.
Wow. Okay, he hasn't met my relatives and Josephine's relatives. We've been flying for a long time. We have a caller on the line. Yeah, Bonnie is calling from Japan. Yeah, Bonnie, can we hear you?
Yes, good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's been a while hearing your voice on the radio. Once again, you are most welcome.
Thank you.
And congratulations to all women at large.
We thank you.
One thing that I think women can do, particularly with our part of the world, Ghana.
Hold up, please. The question was, what can you do, not the women, you, to ensure a more gender equal world? What can you do?
Yeah, what can we do? I as a man, what I can do is to give the women the opportunity to express themselves, not to intimidate them.
Have a radio station?
I used to intimidate women a lot.
You used to where? You've repented.
I used to intimidate women. I used to intimidate women a lot when I was in competition with them. But at a certain point, one particular woman taught me an intelligence, and I realized it was all wrong for carrying on with me. So I changed completely, and I try to support women at all levels. So I will encourage all my other colleagues to encourage the women, not to intimidate them, because some of them, they need our support to be able to become better than we are, and they can hold better positions than we do. So
thank you, Mboni. We welcome the new you. Thank you for repenting. Thank you for calling in. We have another caller, Theophilus, who is calling from Koforidua.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Theophilus.
Madam, and your distinguished panelists. Happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to talk about something very important about women. It is not exactly in your discussion today. About a couple of weeks ago, I had a news report from Kumasi on Joy FM about this Clean Ghana campaign that's being carried on, which has reached Kumasi. And apparently some women were apprehended. Please, it's very important, please. It's concerning women, please give me just 2 minutes here. So they were arrested, they were taken to court, and they were fined thousands for not keeping clean environment around there where they were doing their food vending. Now, two of the women said they didn't have the 1,000 cedis to pay. And so they were sent to prison for 6 months. I heard this on Joy FM. And I'm thinking, are we solving a problem, much as we all need a clean environment, around our food vending places? Is this the right solution? I'd like maybe Professor, especially to address this issue for me. Actually, I'm concerned. I want you to use your position to follow up. These women have been taken away from their families for 6 months. Poor women who've just gone to get some food, some money for their family. 6 months, they're going to go to
Theophilus, thank you for bringing this up. We would look into it. But we have to move to the next caller now. We would look into this. It's quite important. We have Ishmael calling from Kumasi.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Ishmael.
Yeah, I think God should really bless the women, because when times are so hard, they are so cool, calm, and connected. And women today are not running from responsibilities. They always stand up to fight for the rights of their children and mankind as whole. But in fact, we are going to use our talking, our strength, our everything to back you up. so that we can get the equality that we are all looking for. But the affirmative action, you have to stop talking about it, because when affirmative action comes in, we have removed the equality, even though we can achieve the equity, but the equality will be buried down there. So the affirmative action cannot be the way out, even though we all have to support women so that they can get.
Thank you very much. Luckily, we have a law professor in the house. She would make the distinction between equality and equity and issues of affirmative action. We have Angela calling from Kwabenya.
Yes, hi.
Hello, Angela.
Hello. Thank you to all the wonderful ladies, and happy belated, I guess, Women's Day to all of you.
Thank you.
Yes. I wanted to mention that as a personal goal, I want to be able to say that the only way we can get power as women, and we do need that power, is financially. Financial power is not accessible to a lot of women. And when something happens to a man, it's usually the woman who suffers, because usually they are the ones with children, with jobs, that are, risk factors or such stuff that can be affected. And I feel like, personally, I have a blog where I write about the financial security of women. Women learning how to save, women learning how to invest, women learning how to write their CVs. It will shock you how many people are in nursing schools who don't know how to write a CV. And I feel like that is a power that we need. We need to be visible. We need to push our way to the table, because nobody is going to let us. And what you said about mediocrity is very true, that women are held to a mediocre standard just because we don't have that access to power like men.
Thank you, Angela. I mean, you've brought up a very key point about the economic independence and empowering women economically so they can stand on their own. I think that was discussed earlier. Now we have Obusumuru calling from Domabing.
Yes, Obusumuru from Domabing.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And Nimwa. In fact, it's about time men, we have to know that we are not competing with our women. There are a lot of women out there who are more intelligent, who are more knowledgeable. And believe me, if you give something to a woman to polish it, the woman will polish it and polish it well. And you wouldn't believe that, so a woman can do this. Then sometimes we have to allow our women in politics, in education, in social, everywhere. We have to allow our women. Now, my question to the Prof is, how are they helping the young ladies to choose their future career? That is my question.
Okay, thank you. Now we have Kofi calling from Kumasi.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Kofi.
This is Kofi Bajumba from Kumasi. How, you see, if you sit back on your radio and you listen to women doing their own thing on radio, it is so refreshing, so good to listen to. But I'll give you 9/10 because you added one man to your panelists. Madam,
there's actually no man here.
Oh, the Prof?
Professor Henrietta Bonsu is a woman.
Okay, all right. So, Madam Charlotte,
yes,
you are so beautiful, so gorgeous, and so courageous. So courageous. You are more than capable of becoming a president of Ghana.
Thank you very much, Kofi.
I think that you don't need any person to encourage you. You are the shining star amongst Ghanaian women. Most women are looking up to you, even some men, including myself.
Okay, Kofi, thank you very much. Now, unfortunately, I have to move on to Daniel calling from Tema.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Daniel.
Yeah, I have a question. It's good to hear from you guys, but then sometimes...
From your radio or your phone?
Yeah, is it okay?
Okay. Yes, it's better.
Yeah. So sometimes you see that some of these things are just overstretched. If you go to the University of Ghana, where Professor Henrietta Bonsu herself is, you know that now it's 51% women, ladies, as against 49% boys. You know, so when this happens, what kind of equality are we creating? Women are always looking out for the big positions. Their headquarters, who are also men. How about that one as well? So why do you always want the juicy positions? And at the end of the day, in our cultural setting, the man is supposed to pay the bride price. In the event that a woman is getting all the juicy offers, positions here and there, is it not time that you women also start paying bride price? And my final question to Professor Bonsu, it will help us a lot, because the last time I tried, but I couldn't get through when she was on set. She has a PhD, but she has a professor. She's a professor without a PhD. She mentioned it herself, and she probably throw light on that for some of us, because I don't understand how someone can become a professor without getting a PhD. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Actually, I do know a lot of professors who don't have doctorate degrees, and we would seriously look into your issue concerning women paying groom price. Echo calling from Tema.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Echo.
Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you, Echo.
Great. So I've been listening to you. I'm tempted to say, guys, I've been listening to you, women. Great points there. What I'm doing now, you asked specifically, what will men do, or what can we do to help? So my children are on midterm, and I'm doing the laundry. My wife is going to work, but I just want to surprise her. Now, let me move on to something else. The Bible, the saying, I heard you talking about church and all. Let's drift a bit into the Bible. It says the woman will be the helper. But can I tell you one thing? Being a helper means you have excess capacity. The woman is stronger than the man. The earlier men took this stand, understood it. It will be better for all of us. I have come to accept it. When you're pregnant, you mop, you do all them stuff, the man will be sleeping. So what I'm doing now is to tap into that excess capacity that women have. Let's take an analogy, like a car that is stuck. Okay, in mind.
Not sure we have time for the analogy. We're running out of time.
Anyway,
quick,
so
yes.
that's my point. I'm tapping into that excess capacity to help make the lives of women more beautiful. Thank you.
Well made. Better capacity management on every level. Thank you. I think I need to come back quickly before we wrap up to my in-house guest, and I'll start this time from Mami. So, after everything we've heard, back to the issue of women in leadership, abysmal numbers. How do we tie all this together?
I think that the fundamental thing is the systems are shaped by ideas. And so if we have a system that is not very equal, then it's about how people think. How do you change the way people think? We want to become leaders of thought. So I think that on every platform that you're on, you spoke about albinism, people who have are handicapped, different issues that women are facing. I think that I don't think the government can tackle everything, but every woman out there's a cause and a purpose for you existing that is bigger than yourself. I think that find one thing that you want to live for, to make a difference in that area. As Ghanaians, let's not sit back. We want our children to be an improvement of us. That requires extra work. So I'll just say to the women out there, and also to the men, as our Prof already spoke about, becoming loving fathers, being that example, raising your children the way you want, with values. But I'll just say that every individual sitting at home, wherever you are in Ghana, just know that you have a cause to make sure that you leave Ghana better than it was when you came and found it. And so as a woman, as a man, any way you can do that, I think that will be very important. And so that's what I want to leave with. Yes.
I'm doing the radicals first. Anymore.
The radicals. I think that everything starts with, so Michael Jackson says, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. Yeah. I'm going to make a change, and I'm going to start with myself. Right. So I think that let's look inward. Mm-hmm. Always a good place to start. Let's be the kind of women. The Bible says, walk worthy of the thank you very much, of the calling that you have been called to or with. So it's about being worthy. It's about having qualities that are good, that are you're kind, that you have empathy, that you're doing your best, so that other people can look up to you and follow, and so that you can be a mentor. One more thing, can we mentor the young girls? Like, can we not hide? We do that a lot. The good women, well, there you go. A lot of the good women are hiding, but we need to come out and speak up and mentor and encourage and show people that, look, show the women that are coming that you can live life in a good way by doing good things.
Okay. Shout out to my chat with Charlotte ladies on my platform. Josephine, 1 minute to wrap up. Your thoughts?
I think the issues that confront women are just so many. But we have women who have done so well in their various fields of endeavor. And I think, just to reiterate the point, that's for such women to begin to take the issue of mentoring seriously, to begin to get girls to understand what it means to be empowered, and to think less of empowerment to do with their bodies. Because that's what you're finding now on social media. So we need to reverse this trend where the emphasis is on the so-called slay queens and whatever, and begin to amplify the importance and the successes of women and what they have done, and encourage young girls to, live up to those kind of expectations. And of course, I still think that we need to engage our men. Engaging our men means engaging our sons, our brothers, our fathers, our bosses who are men, engaging our work colleagues who are men, to begin to appreciate that the issue of gender equality really is a win-win for all of us.
Yeah. Prof? Thank you very much. Somebody asked a question about affirmative action. Yeah. Affirmative action is a tool for redressing historical injustices. See, it does not mean that you give people an unfair advantage, but it means helping those who are down to come up.
Ensuring equity, actually.
Because sometimes it is not people's fault that they are down. We at the University of Ghana, we have this affirmative action policy. Sometimes people are complaining. But what people don't realize is that there were fewer good secondary schools for girls, which meant that there was less of an opportunity for a girl to get a good grade
to qualify.
Right. And so it was a way of helping the females to come up. If they are now 50%, or 51%, hooray. But is that surprising? Aren't women 51% in the general population? So what's surprising? It just means there's been progress, and now there's equity.
And we should actually be celebrating that.
We should be celebrating that, instead of looking at things and feeling that people are getting too much. What are we putting into the system? And yes, my good friend who called from the University of Ghana, yes, I do not have a doctorate degree, and I'm a full professor. In fact, I'm the only full female professor in the country.
Thank you very much.
So I think you should check the statutes of the University of Ghana to see how one becomes a professor, and you will understand. Thank you very much. Somebody asked if I'm mentoring people. Yes, every young female who comes into my world gets some help. So I can't be everything to everybody. Right. People must also understand that when you are a woman in leadership, they should not assume that then automatically puts a burden on you to go around harvesting every, that is also sexist. Right. You don't require that of men. So we do our best.
I think actually there are some questions that are reserved exclusively for women. How do you manage work-life balance? Things like that. How do you cope being with your married responsibilities and It's just for us women.
Yeah, I understand if people think you are a bit of a magician. and they want
apparently,
to get
Prof, we've
run
out of time. Typical of Joy, they are kicking us out.
Oh, that's so cool.
And, let me just say that clearly the issues concerning women, we need more than a morning show to deal exhaustively with this. And Joy may consider, as part of their 25 years of media excellence, devoting one whole week to just engaging and discussing issues on how we can ensure a more equitable country. I think the key takeaways from today are that it's about collaboration. It's not a competition. It's not a numbers game. It is about strengthening everyone in our society to put them in a position where they can all help us work towards a better society and a better country. We also learned that the change starts with us, and so we should all go away asking, what can we do? The expectation should not be on other people, but should be on us. What can you as a person do to ensure a more equitable world, a more equitable Ghana, with the knowledge that when you do that, we all stand to benefit from a more empowered society. So we want to thank Joy FM. It's been a very beautiful morning celebrating International Women's Day on the Super Morning Show. And my guests were Ms. Josephine Nkrumah, Chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, Mami Ewinado, Director of Operations of Savannah. Oh God, I need breakfast. This is a sugar low. And Inimwa with Joy. And then we have Professor Henrietta, female, Mensa Bonsu. Not all professors are male, please.
Yeah.
Professor Henrietta Mensa Bonsu, Professor of Law and President of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, and who was my criminal law lecturer, and Josephine's criminal law lecturer, and I think that's all part of the mentoring, exactly, and part of the support. And so my name is Charlotte Osei, and my guests were supposed to talk about their joy moment as part of the celebration, but I think we're out of time. So I'll sign off by saying my joy moment. My joy moment, December 7, 2016. Joy FM was with me. We set up a studio at the Electoral Commission, and they were with me throughout the day, and we're taking all the messages from the public and dealing with issues and questions that were coming up, and Joy spread that through their platform. And they actually brought me a Joy t-shirt. I remember they didn't make one for me that day, but they did bring it later on. So thank you, Joy. Thank you for the support, and keep supporting Ghana and keep doing what you do best. We're proud of you. 25 years of Joy, 25 years of media excellence in Ghana. It's been a beautiful morning. Thank you for joining us. All of you who joined us, all listeners, thank you for joining us. Those who sent messages, those who called, thank you. We've had a lovely program, and we wish women in Ghana the very best. And by this time next year, may the story be even better.
Amen
thank
to
you.
That.
Bye-bye.